Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the 1974 USAC Championship here at ISO. Coming to you tonight with the California 500, the first of our 500-mile races to take place during the season. And with me in the booth tonight and on the track is Dave Miller. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Jonathan. Welcome everyone to sunny Ontario, California for the California 500.
And of course, as Dave says, we are in Ontario. And the Ontario Motor Speedway, a 2.5-mile oval, will be going for 200 laps compared to, I believe we did 40 in the qualification races last week. And it'll probably be a stonk around here. The track is very similar to Indianapolis, slightly higher camber, which gives us slightly higher speeds, so the racing should be pretty darn good.
Absolutely, if the qualifying races are anything to go by, tonight's race should be even better. There's a lot of cars with the potential to win it and a lot of drivers as well.
That's certainly true. And as we said last weekend, I think we calculated it to like 10, 11, 12 drivers that could possibly take the win tonight, so there will be a lot of drivers to look out for. And if we have a quick look at the points, while I believe the driver's briefing is taking place at the track.
User joined your channel.
As we also have joining us is Jason White, admin for this evening's race. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ontario, California, and the first jewel in our Triple Crown.
It certainly is, and the first of our 500 milers. And because it's 500 miles, the winner will take 1,000 points compared to, I believe it was 200 points for a win in the qualification heats last weekend. So that's why we saw some drivers possibly taking it a little bit easy just to get a better starting position for this 500-mile contest. With the drop in points from second to third, 800 is 100 points. All the way down to 7th, where 7th will score 300 points, and then it's a drop of 50 points down to the last points paying position, which is 12th. And also to have a quick look at the standings after the qualification heats from round 2 at this very track. David Yates still holds the lead in the championship, now on 420 points, a mere 10 points ahead of Alberto Ibanez on 410. Jakob Fredriksson, a surprising third on 400 points. Well, maybe not surprising, he's very good in these sort of races and cars, but considering the cars he's been driving in the opening 2 rounds, it's a bit of a surprise. Jukka Matonen is 4th on 380 points, and Dana Schurer rounds out the top 5 on 290 points. So a bit of a drop in points between 4th and 5th, but considering the amount of points we'll see here tonight, it'll probably be quite a mix-up in the championship standings.
Yeah, this is going to be a big one as far as shaking up the standings. Whoever takes home the prize tonight is going to probably be vaulted to the top of the standings by default.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But keys to the race this evening, as you probably saw in the qualifying heats, if you watched those last week, dirty air is going to be the enemy here. These cars put up a lot of turbulent air behind them, and it makes turning into the corner when you're following someone very tricky. You have to change your entire attack angle into the corner to even compensate for it. And you might have to change your sway bar setting to make sure that the car make sure that your car is handling properly for the exit of the turns and you don't drive it into the fence. I think that's the one thing to watch for in the first 20 laps or so. People are really going to be feeling their cars out and trying to get a feel for how they're going to drive in traffic.
Sorry, Ace, you can... Okay, we're back. Why did
What happened?
Suddenly it didn't receive any data, but I was putting up data. Oh well. Sorry, I believe we are back. Had a bit of a drop in... I didn't drop anything on my end, but YouTube didn't receive any data. But sorry, go ahead, Jason. You were talking about the dirty air.
No, just that the cars will just push right out to the wall if you don't take that into account. A lot of people here are working with their sway bars in order to get the car to handle properly. Don't be surprised if you're going to see a lot of wild, goofy-looking lines early on, like in the first 20 laps, simply because people are just trying to get their cars felt out. It's one thing if you've been practicing with another car in front of you, like one in practice, just to get a feel for it. But when you've got several cars in front of you, you need a meteorologist out there and not a spotter, because it's just a storm. The entry to the corner is difficult, and then you have to pay attention to the exit, because if you don't do that right, you can suddenly have an onset of oversteer. And those are very hard to catch on this circuit.
Certainly, and I also had a bit of information from David Yates, who were talking about we'll probably see two primary kind of setups around here. Either running lower wings, achieving probably around 207, 208 miles an hour on their own down the straight, using a bit less fuel doing so because of less drag. But of course more dangerous in traffic, as you mentioned, with the dirty air and having the washout. Or a more of a high wing setup where they will be reaching about 203, 204 miles an hour, so about a 4 mile per hour difference. But of course using more fuel in the process, but easier to handle, especially in traffic.
Yeah, the other thing that a lot of people are going to be doing in this race, I confirmed this with Tiago and some other drivers, is people are going to be using two different gears as top gear in this race. You know, when you're running by yourself, you want to use the absolute maximum of the rev band that you can. So some people are setting that up to be third gear, and then when you're running in traffic, you use fourth gear. To give you the range in the rev band to take advantage of the slipstream. Otherwise, you have the challenge of, you'll be running into the red line when you're getting to the end of the long straights, and if you want to last 500 miles, you can't do that. The other thing about having that setup that's advantageous is if you find that you're running a bit short of fuel in a stint, if you shift to fourth, you can use that as an economy gear. So if some people find they're running short and they need to economize towards the end of the race or towards the end of a stint, there's that option there. So that's what most smart, seasoned oval drivers are doing here.
Of course, and we'll also see slightly different fuel ranges with the slightly different ways of doing it, with the sort of high downforce being able to go around 28, 29 laps, which we saw most drivers do in the qualification heats. But if you do the low wing, low drag situation, you will probably get about 31, 32 laps instead, with more laps possible if you are able to economize a lot, of course.
The other obvious thing is that there's going to be yellows, and that's going to stretch out the fuel economy as well. So, and that's kind of the wild card. Nobody knows how much yellow we're going to have. I think everyone was surprised when we watched the quality heats last Sunday of how little yellow there was, especially in heat number 1. So, I think that has something to do with the physics of this mod. In several previous iterations of these cars, the washout wasn't this severe, and it has the effect of spacing the cars out a bit more, so it's a bit more accurate to what they actually were like in '74. And it forces people to drive a bit more within themselves and with a bit more caution. So in that case, I think we might be surprised at how little yellow we see this evening.
It's certainly a possibility, but I still think the dirty air and the way it works will probably catch out a few drivers either way, and we'll probably see, I'd guess, around 3 to 5 yellows over the whole race, which I think is about
Fair.
the average for a 500-mile race back in the day as well. Of course, with that, there would have been sort of technical issues as well with like fuel lines and engine breakages and that kind of stuff, wheel bearing issues and so on. We don't get quite as many of that, but certainly we'll get a few yellows at least.
So who do you guys predict will win this one? I know it's a tough call.
I'm honestly not sure. Oh, för helvete. Okay, it seems YouTube is playing up. I honestly can't put it past Jacob Ferguson to have something up his sleeve. Other than that, I'm honestly not sure.
A lot of people are picking Dana.
I wouldn't put it past her either to be able to do well around here. She's proven before in 500-mile races that she has a good head on her shoulders and is able to drive very well indeed.
All right, 2 minutes to go. I'm going to my car. Thanks so much for broadcasting, Jonathan. Dave, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll see you in hopefully 500 miles. Bye.
I think, Jonathan, it's worth adding on one other key to the race here, and that's going to be patience. This is a very long race, and the goal is to be in position for that last 50 miles. So you can always think of it as a race of two halves. A 450-mile race that determines the grid for a 50-mile race at the end.
Indeed, very much so. That's probably one of the most interesting bits about all this. Sorry, I'm just having some technical issues here, that's why I'm a bit spaced out. Okay, let's see what happens. Hopefully it'll stay up. One other very much potential winner here is definitely Cesare Lapinski. I noticed in the times here in the warm-up session he's about 6/10 faster than the next guy on the grid or in the field.
I have to agree with you there, Jonathan. He was unlucky in the qualifying race not to finish higher, but with that car and with the pace he's shown over the last week, I think he's certainly one of the favourites to take the win tonight.
That's certainly true. I think the main thing there will be to be able to keep that Coyote on the track. It's as we mentioned before, you can't really change the wings, the front wing on that car, so it is a little bit on edge when driving it. So all being well, he will have no issues, but over a full stint, the cars will go through many different stages of drivability.
He'll need to be careful in the opening gambits while he's still in traffic, but if he can break clear of the pack, I don't think there's much that'll stop him from driving away.
And there we have the signal for the race session. Well, I suppose the one thing that could hinder him later on in the race would be traffic. Even though it's a 2.5 mile oval, there will be traffic later in the race because drivers will be on slightly different strategies, and the different pace between the drivers will also play a part.
Absolutely, and there's although the spread between the field is relatively small, there is quite a large speed difference between some of these cars.
There certainly is, and as the race session is about to get underway, let's quickly try to get through the grid here. Jukka Martinen won the first qualification heat last weekend and lines up on pole for this 500-mile contest. Alberto Ibanez is second on the grid with Ryan Yannick in third. Jakob Fröksen lines up fourth with Adam Hackman in fifth. Dana Schurer is sixth with David Yates seventh. Jason Fitch lines up eighth with Cesariusz Rapinski due to a bit of a, let's call it a pit strategy mishap, lines up ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is David Saber. Peter Lavac back racing here at ISO in 11th with Juha Bors in 12th, 13th for Dave Miller, good luck to you Dave, and Greg Dellacella 14th. Jason White lines up 15th with Raoul Jereb in 16th, 17th for Alan Forster and François Remen 18th, Alberto Equino 19th with Ernest Meros in 20th, Ray Riddle 21st due to a retirement, same as for Ernest Meros. Pascal Mikla didn't take part in qualification heats but are here tonight in the number 69 Roy Woods Racing Team entry. Starts 22nd, Thierry Canola starts 23rd for the Grand King races, Bruno Chacon 24th, Richard Coxon 25th, Filippo Marazzi 26th, and I believe he's, no it's not quite, Mick Chapman in 27th is the final runner to take part here tonight. As we are just in time to see the green flag drop and we are racing here. Okay, I think we're back. Sorry for the slight hiccup. Hopefully we'll have no further issues. But I suppose we'll have to see, but hopefully no issues will be had, of course, as I said. Alberto Ibanez still in the lead with Ryan Yannick going for second, going into 3. OS, both of them get sideways as we are about to finish lap 7. And both of them still sideways, but looks like Brian Yannick has the position for now. As Martin are now up the inside at 1 instead. Dear me, they are definitely going for it. While Alberto Ibanez is streaking away in the lead. here comes Martinen on the outside. Fredriksson looking for the inside. Good thing he didn't go for that. But Fredriksson may be taking the position away from Jukka Martinen here. No, he couldn't quite get up the inside there. Oh, and again, just slightly scratching the wall there is Jukka Martinen. I noticed, I believe that's Yates just behind them, and Saber in 6th. All of these guys very close, from 2nd to about 12th or 13th, I believe that is. As we can see, it's Yannick Martinen and everyone else behind. And then there's a bit of a gap to François Remen, and I believe that was Jason White in 13th. We can see here the lead that Alberto Ibanez is enjoying already, as I also noticed in the timing and scoring that Dana Schurer unfortunately was forced to retire due to the damage she sustained. That's a very unfortunate and early exit for her. So Pinsky is very, very sideways there. Was that Yates dropping connection, or is he back? That looked very strange indeed. He is dropping down the field. Oh dear me! Don't tell me he had a disconnection here. That would be another race favorite. He had a disconnection. Oh dear me! That's really unfortunate for him. Ay ay ay. It's very unfortunate indeed, as Brian Yannick in the meantime does the fastest lap of the race so far. So 10 laps in and we already have two race favorites out of this race. So we can see the field now thinning out and grouping up in groups of 3 and 4. So you can see here Juha Boos trying to attack Jason Fitch and Dave Miller just ahead of those two combatants. Whereas Fitch is a little bit wide there. I think he stayed off the wall though. Up ahead, Saber and Klavac fighting as well. Oh, and Saber really sideways. That Eagle definitely looks very nervous this early on in the race. Unfortunately, we have a yellow, and I just managed to catch it. Ernest de Moros with a engine failure. Looks like on the run between 3 and 4 possibly, that his engine gave up the ghost.
It's very unusual to see this early in the race, but obviously it's happened.
Yeah, maybe he missed a gear or something and the engine over-revved. I know that's something they definitely don't like.
Certainly can happen. It happened to me last time we ran this race.
It's certainly a risk in these races.
I see Thiago Canola's in the pits.
I suppose he took the opportunity, as it were. And I just had a message from David Yates. The car was great. Shame about the contact that he had with Dana. Was light, but on his end he didn't notice anything, so could have been that his connection was a little bit iffy even already at that point. And, Okay, I hope we are back. I've done a small change here. I'm now running it as an administrator, and I've quickly tried to tweak a setting or two. Hopefully it will work. It is seemingly on my end. It seems to be OBS. It's never done this before to me, so I'm not sure what is going on in that regard. In the meantime, we have a yellow out and we have people pitting. Not entirely sure what the yellow was for, since I was trying to solve these issues with getting this to run properly. But we can see that several people are in the pits, with Thiago Canola looks to be the first one out of the pits. And we have Ivanez, Yannick, Schlapinski, Dave Miller, David Saber, Raul Jereb, Jason Fitch. Here comes Jason White, currently sitting in 19th. You can see there Jukka Martinen coming around in 20th. I wonder if he had a moment possibly.
He was the first to pit before the yellow had even come out.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate for him, and that seems very early to pit.
Well, he pitted as the yellow came out, but before we picked up the safety car.
Okay. Looks like Greg Dellacella has been in the pits for a little while here, but now back out. Peter Lavac, unfortunately, a lap down. So he, I assume, also pitted under green.
I think he may have clouted the wall coming out of turn 4, because I passed him on the front straight with him going quite slowly.
Ah, that's very unfortunate. And Pascal Mikla in the pits looks like he'll be here for, or there for quite a while as well. So maybe it was Pascal or Mick Chapman coming into the pits or out of the pits. One or both of them, I'd assume then, was those that brought out the yellow. So Francois Remen decides to stay out and will pick up the lead as the safety car looks to be heading in on this particular lap. As the race gets back underway, so I just try to sort everything out in all regards. Francois Hamel looks to be able to hold on to the lead for now, stays on a slightly wider line but cuts back into lead as we get onto the back straight. Oh, and really far down there, that's Juha Bos, possibly trying to avoid or having a bit of a moment. As we have currently 23 cars running in a group, and here comes Mick Chapman at the start of the back straight. So after his pit stop, he is a little bit further behind the rest of the pack. As you can see, everyone streaming past here. Zira Chacon and Fredriksson battling over third and fourth. And here comes, I believe that's Juha Bors as well. Sorry, no, that's Coxon in the Mongoose. having a good race so far as he slips past Brun Chacon up into 4th. Further behind still looks like Alberto Aquino is trying to stay out of trouble for the time being, with Boss being passed by Ibanez. So Ibanez, after his pit stop, working his way up the field. And everyone...
Of course,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, now we've got cars on 2 different paces. It'll be the ones that did pit, which are full of fuel and slow, and the ones that didn't, which are fast and light.
Well, I suppose everything is relative. Ibanez certainly doesn't seem slow on high fuel, but it'll certainly be interesting. Ooh, as Filippo Marazzi had a massive moment coming onto the start-finish straight, but was able to keep it off the wall. Drops a few positions, but able to keep running. So it looks like Martinen has dropped Bors for now, but Bors now with Yannick behind him and Schlapinski as well. Well, you are a little bit wide in 3 here. I wouldn't be surprised if Yannick is able to get by on this start-finish straight. No, he actually... Oh, now he comes. Here he comes. Up the inside. And he gets the position. Very nicely orchestrated pass there. Juha didn't put up too much of a fight. He knows it's a long race as well. Here comes Schlapinski up his inside as well. So Schlapinski up into 9th. Juha Bors back to 10th. Just trying to look through the rest of the field here, which drivers are where. And here we have Filippo Marazzi. He's back racing with us. Here is ISO. Has had a little bit of a sabbatical, but good to see him back and doing his best here. Certainly doing a good job so far. Haven't seen him in too many issues apart from that loose moment he had coming out of this very turn a couple of laps ago, but nice and smooth that time around. Thiago Canola with a first time entry in the series. Of course did kart 88 last year and was very quick there, fought for the championship, but David Yates just about was able to edge him out for that title. And today he's in, I believe that's an Eagle 72. So perfectly decent entry to be in, but obviously having not done as much practice as others will have done with the qualification heats as well under their belt, understandably running a little bit further down the field for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if Thiago is able to find some more pace over these 500 miles. Let's have a look up the front of the field, and Jakob Flugson is up into the lead. I'd assume that's because François Remen has headed for the pits. Remen is now 21 seconds behind, so that seems about right for a quick splash of fuel and a set of new tires. At least I hope that's the case, so he's not in any kind of troubles. So Fredriksson has about a second lead ahead of Ray Riddall. So Ray, despite the retirement he had in the qualification heats, doing very well here. Up in the second at the moment, and looks like he's setting some pretty good laps. And talking about good laps, Cesare Shlapinski at a 46.7 says the fastest lap of the race so far. That's a very impressive time indeed. And Coxon and Mungu sitting in third at the moment. That's a very good effort in that car. That's a 1971 built car, so far from modern by the general standard of the field, but in the right hands a very, very capable vehicle. As I notice here, you come out in an under attack from Alberto Ibanez and Cesare Shlapinski right behind them as well, so these guys are working their way up to the front, and Shlapinski aggressively takes the racing line going through turn 2. Now let's see what Coxon can do with the Works McLaren in behind him. Looks like the McLaren has a lot of speed on the poor Mongoose, and Coxon drops from third to fourth. And I can't help but think that his car is a bit too outmatched by these cars around him. The Panelli VPJ2 behind him now in the hands of Alberto Ibanez, and the Coyote in the hands of Shlapinski, and of course the McLaren in the hands of Matanen. All of those probably should be a little bit quicker than Coxon based on the car, but again, as I said, with a pair of capable hands anything is possible. But there Coxon runs wide, and Alberto immediately looks up the inside onto the front straight. But he isn't able to get by. Actually, Coxon does a very good lap indeed, a mid-48, but there Alberto goes up the inside. And now Brian Yannick wants a piece of the action as well, slips up the inside of Shlapinski going into turn 1. Very late and aggressive, but well put together move there by him. Very nicely done indeed. And now he goes immediately after Richard Coxon. Not going up the inside there though, so let's have a quick look down the back of the field, but further behind, and looks like Chacon and Alberto Equino is heading for the pits, as Dave Miller has worked his way up to 9th after the pit stops, with Hackman sitting right behind him. Old combatants close together once again, it would seem, with Juha Boos and Peter Lavac in close company there, trying to unlap himself and get up onto the lead lap. I believe he's only a lap down, so still a long way to go, and if he can get that lap back, he, I believe, has the pace for a at least top 15 finish here tonight. Although here comes Jason Fitch with a great slingshot onto the back straight. Goes up the inside, and Lavac trying to follow him through underneath Juha Boos. Looks like he might just have a bit of an overlap, the Czech driver, but not quite able to make it. Owen Jareb scrapes the wall on the exit of 4 there. And now he goes up the inside as Lavac goes up the inside of Juha Boos. And both of them, it looks like, backs out as Remen now out of the pits. So presumably he ran into some kind of issue then, as he was.
I think he may have gotten a jump start penalty on the last restart, Jonathan.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I didn't notice that. I yet again was trying to solve issues, but okay. Thank you very much, Dave. So that's very unfortunate indeed for Francois, but still a long way to go, over 3/4 distance, so he can still make that time and those positions up. As further behind still, here goes White up the inside of Remen. And Canola goes up the inside as well. And then we have Marazzi in 15th, Forster in 16th. Looks like he may have tried to go up the inside of Brun Chacon there, but Chacon able to hold on as we have a yellow. A quick look, see if we can find out who or what that is for. Looks like Coxon is off. Dear me, don't tell me he has a blown engine.
Looks like he may have crashed in turn 3.
Oh dear me. Yeah, he has lost his front wing. Oh, it's what we saw with Ray Riddle in the qualification heats. A little bit loose on the entry, goes for the apron, and the car immediately snaps on him. And that's a very heavy impact with the outside wall. Not sure he'll even make it to the pits with that. Doesn't look like it. He has been forced to retire, so that's very unfortunate for him and the Mongoose team, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So with this yellow, I wonder if there's any other drivers that still needs to pit and will take this opportunity to pit on the yellow and not lose too much time. Looks like Fredriksson is possibly one of those, as I believe he pitted very early on during one of the yellows, and he is indeed heading for the pits, as is Martinen and Ibanez, Slapinski. So everyone is looking to, almost everyone looks to be trying to fill up their fuel tanks. So let's see what pit crews are quickest here. As looks like Peter Lavac very gently heading into his pit stall. Looks like Martinen's pit crew was very quick here. Bit of a stall. Looks like he may have even stalled on coming out of his pit stall, but able to get it going again. Ibanez, then Fredriksson, Saber, Chapman, Yannick, then Slapinski, Fitch in 10th, Dave Miller, Bors. Raoul Jereb, Jason White 14th. Then a few others either coming out of the pits. Yep, they are. So Marazzi 15th, Forster 16th. And then that's Peter Lavac, who was a little bit later into the pits, running further down the field. Hopefully his pit crew will be able to get that car sorted and back out before the safety car comes around once more. As the safety car heads into the pits already. Wow. It's very unfortunate for Peter. As the green flag is out and Ray Riddle has the lead, as there are a few lapped cars ahead of him on track. Oh, my apologies, I misidentified. We have two leader car racers entries in this race. That was not Peter Lavac, that was Greg Della Cella that was in the pits for a pit stop and possibly a few repairs as well. As Jukka Martinen immediately jumped into the lead here. Oh, and everyone in the group behind, this will be very scary. Ray Riddle and Peter Lavac making a bit of contact. And everyone trying to work their way through all of this. Again, most drivers with a full tank of fuel, so the cars will be Probably a little bit nervous. Oh, we have a spinner. That's Alberto Ibanez. Looks like someone else is in the wall. Oh, that's a big one. Greg Dalla Cella heads for the bottom as well. That's Canola. That's definitely Ibanez. And it's Jason Fitch as well. Oh dearie me. That's very unfortunate for all of them, but hopefully there's no major damage done. Noticed one of them possibly took to the wall there, so let's try to puzzle together what happened. Oh, so Remen and Chacon came together. Alberto had to try and snap the car. Looks like him and Chacon made a little bit of contact. Alberto, of course, spins to the inside. Let's see if we can see what else happened from Jason Fitch's view. Looks like Schlapinski stood on the brakes. Yannick with nowhere to go, sitting right behind him. Or Canola, sorry, did that. And Schlapinski and Yannick with nowhere to go. But Yannick did a fantastic job. Almost no contact with looks like possibly no contact at all with Schlapinski. And Jason Fitch able to avoid it, but unfortunately with a spin to be able to avoid all of that going on. So good avoidance by all the guys. Unfortunately Canola in the pits, possibly because he nudged the wall or had a bit of contact from the rear. Due to trying to avoid all of that. Marazzi unfortunately in the pits as well. Lavac into the pits. As it looks like the green is already out, is it?
Nope, next time around.
No, okay, it was because they were lapped down, possibly, that showed us a green. Yep, it must be the case. As Remen heads out to the pits, Lavac with a very quick pit stop here. That was Canola as well heading out. As does Marazzi. Now we have, that's Pascal Mikkola heading out, and now Peter Lavac heads out as well. I believe we had one more car heading out. That's Mick Chapman also in the pits for a quick top up of fuel. And it looks like Alberto Quino is let past the safety car there, so he'll be happy with that. So he will try to open up as big of a gap as possible to Martonen, who leads this race, with Fröksen in second, Ridal third, Saber fourth, Hackman fifth, Schlapinski sixth, Bo seventh, Miller eighth, White ninth, and Jareb rounding out the top 10. Because of the green flag soon flying here, I don't feel we have time to check it all out now, but you can see the positions scrolling on the left side, hopefully. As the green flag comes out and we are back racing, it looks like a pretty decent start for Martonen. Yep, looks like he'll hold on to the lead before they turn into turn 1. Looks like top 2 is pulling away, but with all Saber and Schlapinski in a bit of an agreement here. As both of them goes up the inside, Schlapinski gains 2 positions down the back straight. That's very impressive indeed. This Coyote is definitely a very quick machine. As Saber hits the apron there, just about able to keep it off the wall. Possibly a little bit of scrape as the car swung back there, but more or less looks like they are good to go for now. Oh, Schlapinski has a hit with the wall. We could even hear that. Hopefully no major damage done though. As Martonen and Fröksen, actually Fröksen has taken the lead. He's definitely got that Webster Racing entry, one of the eagles I believe, flying here. We're very close together there. Bors and Jareb, and Miller and Yannick side by side coming out of 4. Yannick drops in behind as Ray Riddle is under attack, as is Bors. So Hackman up the inside of Ray Riddle. Jareb takes the position from Bors, and Yannick took the position from Dave Miller, and Ibanez up the inside as well. Then Jason White in the second of the I believe it's 3 Velus Panelli Jones Racing team entries for this race. The third one, of course, being Alberto Junior. Lavac up into 15th now, and unfortunately Greg Della Cella looks to have retired. I didn't see when that happened, but presumably it was with him being in the pits. He probably was carrying some kind of damage, and unfortunately it became bad enough for him to not be able to drive it safely. Here we have Alberto Equino in the third of the Wells Panelli Jones Racing cars. We are closing in on quarter distance as well. We'll probably get there at about 48 minutes on the clock, so at a decent pace. US Lavac has a big moment coming out of 4 there, just able to hold on to it as Canola goes up the inside and takes the position away. So Canola as well must have dropped the lap down the lap. Because of all that happened early on in the race, I completely forgot that was the case, but again, it's a long race, so they can still get back on the lead lap and still have a good event. So Alan Forster is the last car on the lead lap at the moment. 14 cars on the lead lap. Always Juha Bors has some pretty hefty contact with the outside barriers there. And Alberto Ibanez sneaks up the inside, going through 1. We'll have to seal it in 2. Looks like he will do so. Ibanez back under pressure as Bors looks up the inside, as does Yannick on Jareb. So Yannick up into 7th. Bors back up into 9th. It looks like Dave Miller and Jason White wants a piece of the action as well here. So we're just past a quarter distance at 47 minutes. Considering the yellows we've had, that's a very decent pace, as Dave Miller unfortunately scrapes the wall there by the looks of things. One wide again. Dirty air is definitely an issue for several of the drivers here. We've seen quite a few wall scrapes already. It looks like Jason White is actually happy to sit here in 12th for the time being, and simply looking after the car and the tires and the fuel, and calculate how he's going to run the final stint of about 30 laps. Ooh, looks like Bors was fairly slow and very loose, as Jason White unfortunately scrapes the wall as well and unsettles the car going into 3 there, but hopefully no major issues posed for any of them, as Dave Miller now looks up the inside of Juha Bors going into 3. And it looks like Dave takes the position. Oh, very loose though, just about holds on to that. That will have been a bit of a moment. Oh, and onto the apron, trying to give Juha Borsroom around outside. Both of them survived to fight another day. As Dave Miller again goes up the inside. Let's actually get a closer look at this. As it looks like Juha is trying to get a bit of a cut back there, but can't quite make it work. Again a little bit wide, trying to get some air onto his front wing. But Miller pulls away. Now Ibanez up the inside of Raoul Jereb. Unfortunately there's two blue cars in the field and they are more or less the same color. That's why I'm a little bit unsure to call which one is which until I see the number or name on the car. Yannick in 7th for the time being. Ray Riddle still in the top 6 with Hackman 5th. Saber up into 4th. Schlapinski still 3rd and closing on Martinen and Fredriksson. So Fredriksson doing a great job here, still holding on to the lead. Been sitting there for the last about 10 laps or so, I think it is. Nearly 10 laps. I think it'll be 10 laps next time by. So this and the next one. Always Schlapinski takes to the apron a little bit there. And so we have another yellow, unfortunately. Oh dearie me, that's Jason Fitch! With a massive off. I don't think he'll be getting back going from there, unfortunately. Let's see if we can possibly find out what happened. Ay, 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 looks like he had a hit up the rear from Canola, possibly. Oh dearie me. That's really unfortunate indeed. Fitch was doing a good job up until that point. Oh, he actually has kept the engine going. I thought for sure that would have taken out the engine, but clearly the car is heavily damaged. We could see how tricky it was to try and get it going in the first place. So that'll be a very long repair job, but ooh, with no rear wing and no front wing, it's a dangerous proposition as well as some suspension damage. But yeah, unfortunately, Jason Fitch decides to park the car. I feel really sorry for him. That's very, very unfortunate indeed. Again, he was having a good race, but unfortunately, contact see him in the wall. As it looks like Alan Forster has been into the pits. And also going into the pits is Ray Riddle. Alberto Ibanez, Cesare Schlapinski. Ray Riddle, as we said. Let's see. That's Alberto Aquino in the pits as well. Alan Forster was indeed in the pits. Very early call on that yellow. Was able to get in early there and get going once again. And it looks like we now have possibly more cars on the lead lap. No, that was because we were... That's one of the tricky bits with riding on board or watching people that is just a tiny bit further back. The lap counting, so to speak, is ends up being a little bit off because Alan is on the same lap as those closest behind him, but the leaders are on has started the next lap in some cases, and that's why looks like more cars were on the lead lap. But anyway, with this yellow, I think we'll probably have... No, sorry, we're back to green once again. So next yellow, we will have a look at the trivia question for this evening. But we're back under green flag conditions, and looks like Fredriksson will be able to hold on to his lead here. But David Saber jumps up into second position from 4th on the grid, with Yannick looking for 3rd ahead of Martinen. Looks like he'll be able to take it as well. Looks like
he just gave the wall a good slap in the chute between 1 and 2 there.
Martinen?
Yes.
That's very unfortunate. Hopefully no major damage done, but That will be you, Dave, up into 5th then. That dark blue McLaren sitting there behind Martinen. So positions switching hands quite often, especially a little bit further down the field. Maybe not in the top 3, 4, 5, but certainly in the around, let's say, 7 to 13, 14, 15, 16th position, something like that. As I noticed, Jason White is up into the top 10, as is Raoul Jareb. Here comes Yannick up the inside. And, oops, sorry, my apologies. Ooh, gets loose, but looks like he'll hold on to position. Martinen sneaks up the inside of Saber. So Saber loses 2 positions in the shoot alone. And then further behind there, I noticed Jareb and Ibanez discussing their positions a little bit there. Looks like they came to a truth for now. And that's Peter Lavac, a lap down, but running effectively 6th on the road, looking to unlap himself and get that lap back. And certainly a possibility, as we have 60 laps in the books now. So that was Jason White and Jareb discussing positions, not Ibanez. Ibanez is sitting a little bit further behind now. With Shlapinski 9th, Hackman 10th, Bors 11th, Ray Riddle down to 12th after the pit stop. Alan Forster in 13th, keeping his nose clear of issues and just running a nice consistent pace. And let's see what that gives him as we near the end of the race later on. Lavac was thinking about unlapping himself there, but Miller goes up into 4th, getting past Jukka Martinen there. Nice regulation pass, and let's see. Ooh, looks like there was possibly a bit of contact, but looks like both of them were able to hold on, survive for another day. But Martinen
Don't think there was any contact, but he stole the air off my rear wing.
Ah, okay, my apologies. That looked like he was very close. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case indeed, as he sneaks up past him, past Dave once again. So, about a quarter of a lap, 2 positions changed. There's a lot of loose moments at the moment. Possibly some tyre wear kicking in as well. As Peter Lavac is trying to unlap himself, goes up the inside now. But not able to make that happen. As a lap down, Thiago Canola, and as Mikkola has a spin. Oh dear me, that was the dirty air, and he slaps the inside barriers on the start-finish straight quite hard indeed. As Alan Forster, again very early on, heads for the pit lane. That's certainly his tactic. I hope for his sake that doesn't backfire, because they are racing to the line. As Peter Lavac now has unlapped himself and hoping to be able to unlap Martinen as well, as Martinen heads for the pits actually. Looks like Peter Lavac will finally get that lap back, as I believe everyone ahead headed for the pits. That also means that we have a very happy Mrs. Dave in the broadcast chat, as Dave Miller leads this California 500 race.
Yep, taking a bit of a gamble on the pits, hoping for a yellow so I don't run out.
Okie dokie. That's a ballsy move, but it could certainly work out. As Alberto Ibanez has taken the same decision by the looks of things, he has also stayed out. So with this yellow, let's have a quick... Oops. There we go. A quick look at the trivia question for you this evening, so you have something to consider and try to work out. If we have further yellows, as we are just under an hour into this race. But the question for you is, who won the last California 500 held at Ontario on August 31st, 1980? Was it A, Bobby Unser, B, Johnny Rutherford, or C, Rick Mears? I have to say I had a stab in the dark at that and actually got the answer right, so it is a possibility to do that, but it's definitely preferable if you know the answer outright. So let's have a quick look and see if the safety car will be heading in this time by, otherwise we'll have a quick look through the field. Hasn't told us that.
I've
so it
not
looks
had
like-
the signal yet.
Yep, so it's going one more time, so let's have a quick run through of the field as well. So Dave Miller at the moment leading this California 500. Alberto Ibanez second. Adam Hackman is third, with Cesaro Shlapinski in fourth. You have Bos in fifth, with Ray Riddle sitting in sixth. Seventh for Jakob Fredriksson, and eighth for Brian Yannick. Jukka Matanen in ninth, and David Saber heading for the pits, but was in 10th before he decided to pit. Up into 10th then will be Jason White, with Peter Lavac in 12th on the lead lap now. But of course with the leader sitting close behind, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets that to work in his favor. Thiago Canola in 13th, sitting effectively third on the road behind the safety car. Bruno Chacon in 14th, looks like he's sitting in 8th or 9th effectively behind the safety car. Alan Forster as well in close contention there in 15th. Alberto Equino 16th. Raoul Jereb in 17th. Filippo Marazzi 18th. François Remen in 19th. I believe 2 laps down on the leaders. Pascal Mikla also 2 laps down in 20th. And Mick Chapman 4 laps down in 21st and last running. Looks like Peter Lavac is running a bit further ahead. I wonder if he's been let go to catch up to the back of the field, man. Possibly just staying very close behind, but we are heading for a green flag here, as Peter Lavac leads the field across the start-finish line. And Dave Miller looks to hold on to his lead, going into turn 1 on lap 67. Well, Canola very wide there. I wonder if he may have scratched the wall. Hackman and Shlapinski had a good restart. Looks like he climbed a couple of positions. Alberto Ibanez in 4th, with a lot of cars right behind him here. Ooh, almost 3 wide. You are both up into 4th there, with Ray Riddle in 6th, being under attack from Jakob Fredriksson in 7th. Really close fight here for 4th to 6th. And Shlapinski now up into 2nd position on the road. He is really quick here, as he actually goes up No, sorry, I was following the wrong car. There he is, Lapinski in second. That was Thiago Canola lapping himself, so both Canola and Lavach now on the lead lap and hoping for a yellow soon so they can get back to the end of the line, so to speak, and be back with the field. But first to third is closing up, with fourth closing in as well in the form of Ibanez. As Schlapinski was able to draft past there and go up into the lead. Let's see whether Dave Miller and Adam Hackman can stay with the pole, or whether Schlapinski will be able to pull away. Ooh. Bit of a loose moment for Dave Miller there. Possibly a bit of downforce stolen by Adam Hackman behind. It certainly looks like Schlapinski has some very, very good speed. But of course, it's a question of being able to use it all the way through. Now Alberto Ibanez has caught up to the... Oh no, Dave Miller off! Oh dearie me, looked like Dave hit the apron there and it completely unsettled the car. No yellow yet. Which I find very strange, but quick look on the replay. Yep, very much on the apron, and unfortunately that unsettled the car, and we now have the yellow flag flying. That's very unfortunate, Dave. You had a very good race going there.
Well, I was hoping for a yellow, but not in this way.
I can understand that. Well, I suppose Canola and Lavach will be happy with that, though. I believe they will be back on the lead lap. And at the back of the field, there's a lot of drivers headed for the pits as well. But it is indeed such that Lavach and Canola is now at the back of the line. So Hackman coming out of the pits in 8th. We have Bose out in 9th. Here comes David Saber, who pitted during the last yellow, ended up a little bit further behind, but in 10th. Wait, where's Peter Lavach in 17th? Did he have to pit just before the yellow came out? And oh, that's very unfortunate for him. He was sitting in a very good position there. As that sounded like we have someone joining us. Let's have a quick look if I can get there on my end. Oh, sorry, that was something else sounding. Okay. Okay, Lavach now in 14th. But I believe that will still be a lap down, so he did indeed have to pit just before the yellow came out. That is unfortunate, but he has showed that he could get into position to get the lap back, so he can definitely do it again. Alberto Ibanez has been in the pits and coming out now in 10th, so Saber up into 11th. Sorry, 9th. Bose 8th, Hackman 7th, White 6th, Yannick 5th, Martinen 4th, Ray Riddle 3rd, with Ferguson 2nd and Schlapinski in the lead. And also a slight correction from the broadcast we did last Sunday for the qualification heats. Leader Card Racers, a team that has 2 entries for this race. One of them unfortunately retired in the hands of Greg Della Cella, but Peter Lavac of course still racing, currently sitting in 15th. The owner, the former owner of that team was Bob Wilkie, I think is the way to say his last name, not what we said last time out. A paper tycoon, I suppose one could say, in the Wisconsin area. At least I assume he would be a paper tycoon if he has enough money to set up and own a racing team as well. In this year, which would have been 1974 back in the day, his son or sons would have been the ones having a hand at what was going on, since their father passed away in 1970. And I was also, as we have a green flag out, my apologies, I'm sitting here reminiscing, and the race is back under green. I'll continue that line of thought and stuff when if we go back to yellow at some point. Schlapinski holds on to the lead on this green flag restart. Fredriksson in second with Martinen in close pursuit. We have a bit of argy-bargy a bit further behind. Ray Riddle in 4th, Yannick 5th. Bors 6th, just ahead of the very close 4th situation there between Mikola and Saver by the look of things. With Ibanez for Vels Panelli, the best placed Vels Panelli car at the moment, in 8th. With Jason White right behind him in 9th. And Adam Hackman right behind him in 10th. Hackman now making a move, as is Jason White. Both of them putting a lap on the car ahead. As we have another yellow, unfortunately. So we can possibly... Oh, it looks like there was a crash up in front. It's Martinen! Oh, dearie me. Let's see. Oh, he went on the apron as well in a massive impact with the outside wall. Very well done to try and keep the car as high as possible, to keep it off the rest of the field, so to speak, and not cause further damage for anyone else. As we have a few cars heading for the pits here. I think that was Jason White along with Pascal Mikola. So unfortunately another yellow. And yeah, very unfortunate retirement for Martinen. He had some very good pace in that McLaren, but it only takes one small mistake and it can all be over in terms of the race.
Abs-
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to agree with you there. It's an absolute knife edge trying to run through these corners. You want to get as close to that apron as you can without hitting it.
It only takes a few centimeters off and you unsettle the car and it is liable to go.
Indeed, and once it gets beyond a certain point, there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Indeed, indeed. Which was honestly one of the good things they did when they, just a couple of years ago, I think now, or a year ago, they changed the design of the modern IndyCar cars a little bit and gave them a bit less downforce, but it was still, because before they had so much downforce that when the car went, the drivers could do nothing. It would seem now with a bit less downforce that the car is a bit more maneuverable in what they can actually handle and take care of on track.
Absolutely, the current gen Indy cars certainly not too different to what these cars ran, but a lot more refinement and development's gone on in the time. But still a twin turbo 2.7 litre V8, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you're probably right. I'm honestly not sure myself. I'm simply basing my assumption on the few races I did watch last season of that. But back to this race, and we have a green flag out, and looks like there's a big difference in restarts. A big bunch of cars heading in here. Looks like Yannick takes the lead and everyone else able to make it through turn 1 without too many issues by the looks of things. And we're now down, unfortunately, to 10 cars on the lead lap. Battles are certainly still on. They get spooked every time Schlapinski heads to the apron in these corners, but somehow he makes it work. As on a side note, Ryan Yannick scraped the wall exiting 4. I noticed some sparks and heard a bit of a sound of that going on. It looks like the top 3 is spacing out a little bit. As Lavac again is up near the front. Unfortunately, still a lap down, but again he's in position to regain the lap if there's another yellow and the cars in front decide to pit. Ibanez in 4th, I believe he started a few positions further back, but he's up there, as is Juha Boos. Haven't looked like Boos has quite had the pace, at least not early on in the race, but he's staying up in the top 10, so he's either way running consistent. As Adam Hackman is looking... no, sorry, that's Dave Miller looking to unlap himself on Adam Hackman. With Canola in 7th now, with Sabre in 8th. A little bit further behind yet. It looks like Canola has some decent speed in that car. Looks like he's dialed it in a little bit better now. Although Saber now looking up the inside. Oh, we have another yellow. We have a spinner. I believe that's a blue card, and that's Raul Jereb indeed. As he's trying to keep the car under control. Oh, just about. Looked like that was a very close call for Francois Remen. Let's see what happened here. Looks like, yeah, Jereb was up in the wall already in the chute between 1 and 2. So I wonder if he possibly punctured the right rear when he hit the wall there, and that would be the reason why he span. The car certainly looks nervous, so that's probably a puncture from hitting the wall in the chute between 1 and 2, as I said. So yeah, another yellow, unfortunately. And also, unfortunately for Lavac, yet to pit is Fredriksson, Schlapinski and Yannick ahead of him. But to continue the line of thought from a couple of yellow flags ago, the leader card racers team was one that Bob Wilson, our old friend and fellow combatant on track, worked for in the 70s, I believe, and he was also a good friend, at least of one of the sons of Bob Wilkie. That's a nice little bit of trivia for you. Thanks to Barry Lynn for sharing that information as well. And for also correcting us for saying the name, the family name wrong of the leader card racers team. As we have also had a set of pit stops, Yannick and Schlapinski headed for the pits, understandably so. Raul Jereb is into the pit lane, and Lavac unfortunately still with one car ahead of him as he tries to get the lap back. Let's try to run through the field here during this lap, see what's happened in the last 16 to 20 laps. So Ferguson in the lead, Hackman in second, Saber in third, with Canola fourth, White fifth, Reridol sixth, Ibanez Senior seventh, with Bors in eighth, Yannick in ninth, and Schlapinski running out the top 10. 11th and first car a lap down, Peter Lavac, with Bruno Chacon in 12th, 13th for Filippo Marazzi, 14th for Alberto Equino, Dave Miller 15th, 2 laps down on the leaders, Mikola 16th, also 2 laps down as well is Francois Remen, Raul Jereb out back on track in 18th, 3 laps down, and Mick Chapman in 19th. 4 or 5 laps down, I'd assume. Yuka Madden unfortunately is still retired. Alan Forster still running, though with a few issues along the way. I believe he is about 7 to 10 laps down on the leaders. As we now come up to the start-finish line to get back running once again, and Lavac tried to time the start there, but backed off, but still up the inside. So Lavac trying to unlap himself, get onto the lead lap, not quite able to do it there. Fredriksson able to run a quicker line around outside. Saber tried to get past him around outside, couldn't quite make it. Hackman got back past and up into second. You can see that Dave Miller with Saber up his inside now. And also further back, almost looked like they were looking to go 3 wide. So lead up was White, Ridol and Ibanez. Disputing 6th and 5th and 7th position. Big angle of cars here. I knew there were some action going to happen here. Cesarich really late into the turn. Runs way deep. Able to keep it off the wall though. That looked very dangerous indeed. Almost hit the rear of Ryan Yannick ahead. Ibanez up the inside. Looks like he's trying to get past Jason White, I'd assume that would be. As the Velspinelli Jones guys runs side by side through 3 and settles it in 4th with Ibanez sneaking past White up into 5th position. Yannick having a bit of a look at Ray Ridol there, not quite able to make it work. So many different lines being taken. He has to try to find some kind of free air to get onto their front wings, to get some kind of grip. You can actually hear here Shlapinski taking it very easy, not wanting to get too close. And I can see why Yannick throws the car up the inside of Ray Ridol there, takes 7th away from him. Very aggressive move there, but he made it work. I'm on board with Ibanez. There's a different viewpoint on that group of cars. So we have Nicola in between. Couple of laps down. Yannick goes to the inside of Jason White. Ooh, no. Ooh. Yannick went up the inside. I'm not sure White quite realized how far up the inside or where exactly Ryan Yannick was there. And a bit of contact was made. Looked like Jason was more or less able to save the car. A little bit of a scrape along the wall, but hopefully no major damage done. He can keep running to the end of this race. We're nearing half distance. Was Yannick again very late, goes up the inside of Mikla into 3. That seems to be Yannick Brian's favorite overtaking spot, that late move. Of course that needs a little bit of work along from the guy you're trying to pass. Mikula a little bit aggressive there, but maybe trying to get out of the way to the other side, and didn't realize Lapinski went up the inside there. And it looks like Jason White is keeping an okay speed there, so if he has some damage, it doesn't seem like it's too heavy. As Yannick goes past Dave Miller and Slapinski trying to follow him through. Not able to do so though. And we can see here Fredriksson has bolted. He is absolutely flying in this green flag run. 5.5 seconds his lead over Adam Hackman, and one lapped car in between, being Peter Lavac still sitting there in 11th position, second effectively on the road at the moment. But back to the action, as it were, with Jason White sitting in 10th, and as I said, keeping a decent pace. At a 48.7, that's definitely not a bad lap, so looks like his car will have more or less been able to sustain that. Oh no, we have a spinner in Mikula. Ooh. Let's actually take that on board with Jason White. As we go into one here. Looks like Mikula is on the inside as Dave Miller and Siré Ridol goes around outside. When Mikula on the apron, just slightly unsettles the car. He tries to hold it on the slide, but not quite able to make it, and the car goes around on him. As we have into the pits several drivers. First and foremost, has Peter Lavac had to pit? Yes, he did. He has been forced to do so again. I feel so sorry for Peter. He's driving a very good race, but not able to find the luck with the yellows at the correct time. You see here, Brian Yannick, I believe, has decided to stay out, so he will pick up the lead here. 4 laps, 3 laps that it'll be soon from half race distance. Slapinski in second, Ray Ridol in third. Fourth will be Fredriksson. First those who pitted under this yellow. Adam Hackman in fifth. David Saber in sixth. Seventh for Alberto Ibanez. Thiago Canola in eighth. Ninth for Juha Bors, and Jason White retains his 10th position. With Slavac in 11th, Chacon 12th, Equino 13th, Marazzi 14th, François Ramen coming out of the pits in presumably 15th. Yep, it'll be 15th. Raoul Jereb in 16th. Dave Miller 17th. Pascal Mikula after that spin and presumably a quick visit to the pits to put some new tires on the car. 18th. Mick Chapman in 19th. Actually 4 laps down still. So after the early issues, staying well within the pace. 20th for Alan Forster. And I believe he is our final runner, as our retirees so far is Jukka Mätinen, Jason Fitch, Greg Delacella, Richard Coxon, Ernest Ross, David Yates and Dana Schurer. That's very unfortunate, Yuka, but as Berlin mentions as well, you had a very good race going, so it'll certainly. I don't think you should be too downhearted. It should work as a motivator for the coming races. As we are heading back to a green flag run here, with 99 laps, I believe, in the books. Looks like Yannick retains his lead off the restart at least. With Schlapinski looking to be happy to sit there in second position for the time being. Oh, and a big loose moment I noticed in behind. That's Raoul Jareb a couple of laps down. Getting very, very loose through 4, able to hold on to it. That will have been a very scary moment, both for him and for Lavage and for Fredriksson in behind. As now Lavage goes up the inside. As it looks like Alan Forster is possibly heading towards the pit lane. Oh no, we have another spinner. That looked like a big off for David Saber. Oh dear me, hope everyone is able to avoid him. Seems like they have, as he's sitting here somewhere. There he is, trying to get back going. There he goes. Let's see if we can possibly find out what happened there. Let's see. Okay, so looks like Dirty Air made him run very wide, hit the outside wall very hard indeed, and the car span to the inside. Very good job by David Saber to stay to the outside wall though and make it as predictable as possible once he got control of the car, where the car would be. But unfortunately that means that the Works Eagle will be heading for the pit lane for repairs, as he's had another spin to the infield, trying to get back to the pits. Of course, no rear wing, suspension damage, and probably some punctures as well. It's not making it any easier for him to get back, but hopefully he'll be able to make it. And that's a very quick yellow as well. We're already seeing the safety car on its way back to the pits, and we'll be going for another restart with 103 laps. I believe that will be completed, so past half race distance. Whereas Brian Yannick has been given a drive-through penalty. That looked very strange indeed. He was way behind the pace car, but maybe the old USAC man felt that Brian pushed the loud pedal a little bit too early there. Maybe Brian did some kind of gesture towards USAC man that USAC didn't quite approve of. But either way, unfortunately for Brian Yannick, he has a drive-through penalty to contend with. It looks like he wants to try and run the laps he can before he has to serve it, to try and space out the field a little bit and not have to end up at the back of the pack. And so we can see also Peter Lavac trying to unlap himself, now sitting effectively, well, second on the road then, considering Yannick will be heading for the pits within a lap or two. Here comes Canola, looking for a double pass, by the looks of things. Up the inside of both Mikola and Bors. Looks like he should be able to get past Bors at least and put him another lap behind himself. Very close though, but just about able to make it. Let's see if he can make the move on Juha. We definitely had a slingshot there. And that's 6th position gain for Thiago, and Mikola unlaps himself as well in that situation, with Jason White in 8th, Ray Riddle 9th, and Peter Lavac up into 10th, but still unfortunately one lap down. With Chacon in 11th at the moment, Roberto Quino in 12th, running right behind his teammate Jason White. That's where he's been sitting for the past few laps. Filippo Marazzi in 13th. Lemen currently 14th. Looks like he's trying to put an unlapping move on here. Not quite happening though. Jereb and Chacon in a bit of a moment. Oh, Jereb onto the apron. Lightly on the throttle there and survives to fight on. Mikola in 16th, Miller 17th, Chapman 18th, and he is still the last runner in the field at this very moment. I would expect Brian to be heading for the pits on this or the next lap. There he goes into the pits for his drive-through. Let's actually stay with him and see where he comes out of the pits. Looks like it would probably be around 5th or 6th. Maybe even 4th if he's really quick around the apron here. He's certainly trying. It'll be 4th or 5th. It'll be a close call. Hackman goes by though, so right, Brian Yannick drops from 1st to 5th with that drive-through penalty. And unfortunately for us watching, the whole field in terms of positions looks to be fairly spread out at this point in time. Let's actually jump on board with Brian Yannick here and see if he can get by Adam Hackman first, catch up with him, and then get by. was. As I just stood up to have a bit of a stretch out. Looks like we have another yellow. It's one of the blue cars. Couldn't quite make out who that was, but it looks like they decided to retire. So we have Remens, so that would have been Raul Yareb retiring for the Pat Patrick Racing team. Who looks like he ended up on the apron one time too many. Car was very loose on entry. Yep, got loose already on the entry onto the apron, and the car snapped. And unfortunately, no returning from there. So that's very unfortunate indeed, but it is what it is, I suppose, as many drivers has headed for the pits. And again, Lavach is stuck one lap down with one car ahead of him during the yellow. What rotten luck. But with this yellow just coming out, we'll have a quick commercial break. As there actually, Lavach may get the lap back, but we'll have a quick commercial break, and I'll have a quick fetching of some more water. But we'll be back shortly with more of this race soon to come.
What should shock absorbers do? Absorb shocks. That's why we put Sears Steady Riders on these stunt cars. They're the shocks built for comfort, control, and a steady ride on any road in any weather. Ask Joey Chitwood.
The Steady Rider? They named it right.
The Steady Rider. Sold only at Sears.
Just turned out to be the quickest quarter mile of the day. So head for the best tasting beer you can find. Miller High Life, America's quality beer since 1855.
If you got the time, if you got the time, we've got the beer.
Back on the racetrack, we are just in time.
Microphone activated.
To see the safety car about to head into the pits with Peter Lavach leading the field, and I hope for his sake he will now be able to streak away or get a quick yellow and get back on the lead lap proper. And have a chance at this. Have a proper chance at this race. As we can see him being very careful. And when he still gets a drive through. Oh, that's really, really rotten luck. As he immediately decides to drop back behind and get out of the way then. as Lavac immediately signals that he'll be heading for the pits. As Fröksen goes up into the lead. My apologies for causing thirstiness, Yuka, but I suppose it's one of those things. Similarly to how when someone yawns, other people will start yawning even though they technically isn't tired. I think it's also a thing technically about, I don't know what you would call it in English, but like in a straight translation would be sympathy coughing, for example, where if someone coughs, you may very well start coughing yourself because you sort of don't want that person to be coughing all on their own. But breaking away from that, as the action is back going, we now have, I believe it's still 9 or 10 cars on the lead lap. 9 cars it will be, since Lavac was in 10th. Fröksen has stricken away once again with a 2-second gap, back to Ray Riddle in 2nd. And Alberto Ibanez in 3rd. 4th for Brian Yannick. Schlapinski in 5th. And Adam Hackman in 6th. So those two are very close together as Schlapinski goes up the inside of Dave Miller there. And Tiago Canola in 7th, not far behind either. So those 3 could definitely end up in a bit of a skirmish. Juha Boss as well, not that far behind. Neither, I thought, was Jason White, but that was Alberto Quino that was sitting behind him with the Vels Panelli colors on his car. Alberto Quino up into 10th with Lavac now 11th, right behind the Quino. So probably about 10th or 11th effectively on track as well. With Marazzi sitting in 12th, Chacon 13th, François Remen 14th, Mikola 15th, Miller now up into 16th, with Chapman in 17th. Everyone doing their best to survive. This is probably the most tricky part of the race, around lap 115 to lap, I'd say about 145 to 155, where you haven't yet started to sprint towards the finish, but you've been on the transportation part of the race for so long that it's very, very easy indeed to lose concentration and make a tiny mistake, which we've seen a little bit of already in the last 4 or 5 yellows, where very tiny areas has cost drivers big time. We have another yellow. My apologies, I wasn't quite paying attention. I was looking at a message I received on the forum as we have... That's Pascal Mikula with a big off on in turn 4, or the exit of turn 4. Was loose already on the entry, and the car, he just couldn't save it, and that's a very, very big hit with the outside barrier. Very good job though on keeping it to that outside wall to let everyone else have the inside line to get by. And unfortunately another yellow for us. And I also noticed actually when we went to the trackside cameras that Brian Yannick had caught up with Alberto very quickly there. He was 1.8 behind, and next time we went to the trackside cameras, he was sitting right underneath his rear wing. So Brian Yannick certainly has some very good pace in the car. As everyone is coming out to the pits there. So it looks like we have Fredriksson in the lead with Yannick second, Slapinski third. Not sure if Canola went by there or not. I don't think he did. And there they come. That change in engine note is our cue for a green flag on the way as we come back onto the front stretch with 75 laps left, and the green flag flies and we are back racing here at Ontario Motor Speedway. Dear Emil, Tiago very quick in the corner. Bos on the outside line wasn't quite as quick. So it looks like Bos is just off the lead lap in 8th. So that means we have 7 cars on the lead lap at the moment. Adam Hackman in 7th with a group of cars ahead. So all this racing to the line is definitely causing some problems for the drivers in this event. I notice Jason White has also unfortunately dropped off the lead lap. as he is just ahead of these. There's Boss and Jason White, and Riddle trying to find a safe passage, which sure ain't easy around here. Now he has Adam Hackman to contend with as well, wanting the 6th position that Ray Riddle currently occupies. Oh dear, and here comes someone else up the inside. That's Peter Lavac trying to unlap himself. Oh, Adam Hackman actually shifting gears on the back straight. That's always a bit of a mess situation, but he tries to look up the inside of Boss. Looks like that just about worked, as he followed Ray Riddle through. Ooh, but a lot of dirty air there. Double car dirty air, if there could be such a thing. Definitely put Adam in a bit of a tricky situation. Jason White trying to run his race. Oh, as I believe Adam Hackman had a hit up the rear. Did he really just suffer a bit of a hit up the rear? No, okay, it was just Adam Hackman got very loose there for some reason. That looked very strange. And there goes Jason White, drops the position to Peter Lavac. So hopefully Hackman didn't suffer any too much damage from that, but that's sure to put a little bit of a spanner in the works for him. As Fröksen again opens up a big gap, relatively speaking, on the restart. Slapinski in the draft, reaching quite high speed behind Brian Yannick, but at least for now staying back. Again, looks like he's happy to sit here and try to save a little bit of fuel. I believe we have probably 2 or maybe even 3 stops before the end of the race, and Yannick signaling that he's going for the pits, and Cesarius going for it. That looked very dangerous indeed. And now Brian Yannick back up the inside with a similar move on Slapinski. Okay, that was Brian Yannick actually trying to break the draft on the backstretch. Cesarius with a very late aggressive move. Yannick will have nothing of that. Retakes the position and it remains status quo. Although both of them either shoot. As Yannick got very sideways on the exit of 1. Although both of them will probably be a little bit more riled up than they were about a lap ago. Here he goes up the inside again. That looked far more safe of a pass. I suppose in terms of beverages we all have our certain preferables, so to speak. But obviously back in the day, in the 70s, at least when it comes to backing up racing as such, Miller was probably the biggest company in that regard. Probably along with Martini, actually, considering the Lancia team had Martini sponsorship for a very long time in the 80s and 90s and 70s, of course. That's also one of those classic liveries for cars. At least for me, the Lancia. The Lancia 037 and later on the Lancia Delta, I think they call that, the final Group A rally car that Lancia produced, with the Martini sort of reddy orange, green and white. Certainly one of those set of colors that you probably will recognize at any given time, similar to the Gulf liveries of the Ford. The Le Mans Fords. I completely forgot the name of the particular model they drove.
The John Wyer GT40s, and they followed it up with the 917s in 1970.
Indeed, thank you very much, Dave. Good thing you at least have a good memory when mine fails. Thank you very much. And that's of course also one of those liveries which you will recognize pretty much anywhere and at any time. Ooh. And it looks like the leading, well, apart from Jakob Ferguson, who's flying us, we have another yellow. It looked like everyone else was keeping a similar pace, as Filippo Marazzi is the one who's had a bit of a spin. Looks like he's hit outside barriers and lost his rear and front wing. Oh, we did it in the exit of 4, I'd assume. Let's see what happens here. He exits a little bit wide. Oh, gets loose. Managed to save it, but as he tries to put the power back on, the car for some reason snaps on him and goes towards the outside barriers. It's very unfortunate, but he did a good job trying to avoid ending up on the race line where the field was. And of course this will be a tricky one, considering he looks to have a bit of suspension damage. His front right is up in the air. And of course no wings on the car, so the car will be very nervous. As we can see right here, as he has a bit of a spin. At least he keeps the engine going, so... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Stay on the apron there, Filippo. Good man. So he'll make it to the pits for repairs. As most of the top... I thought most of the top guys would head for the pits. Here goes Lapinski. Looks like Ferguson already has gone into the pits. Looks like Ray Riddle will take over the lead of the race. There he goes. So Ferguson, with a fortunate quick pit entry, is actually in second still. Was leading, but second. Brian Yannick third. Alberto Ibanez fourth. Thierry Canola fifth. Adam Hackman sixth. Cesarius Lapinski drops to seventh. And still on the lead lap, I believe. Yes, of course he is. He was right behind the safety car. But yeah, very quick cleanup of that incident, and Ray Riddle will lead the field back to the green flag as we start the 140th lap as we cross the finish line. Ray Riddle has a drive-through. Jason White gets a 10-second stop-and-go penalty? Ooh. I think the game is being a little bit sensitive. I wonder if Jason White is probably because he passed someone on just before the green flag flew, as we have another yellow as well. As that's Brian Yannick. Brian Yannick's out? Oh, don't tell me you blew the engine on the restart. Right on the gear change. Didn't sound like he over-revved at all. It's just seems like just general wear and tear, and the engine went. Doesn't seem to be any major flames or anything coming out of the back of that car either. So just one of those things. Brian was having a great race as well, so that's very unfortunate. But I suppose 500 miles is 500 miles, and it is very hard on both the equipment and the drivers. As Ray Riddle this time decides to head for the pits, as Jason White has stayed out to... sorry, that's Alberto Equino has stayed out to possibly get back onto the lead lap. Although the way he went to the inside on the back straight may mean that he is looking to go into the pits here. Dana had an incident with David Yates, possibly due to David Yates having a dodgy connection today, because a lap or two later he disconnected, so because there didn't seem to be any major contact between Yates and Dana, it was just side by side, and suddenly Dana popped up into the air and into the outside barriers, so would seem like just one of those things for both of them, unfortunately. And Dave, I think Angel just threw you under the bus.
Oh no, what's she saying about me now?
She said that you remember the most weirdest things, but you won't remember her order at the bar.
Yep, and I'll point out I pulled that fact out while holding a push-to-talk down while going too wide through turn 3.
That's very impressive indeed. Well, I mean, maybe not under the bus, but well, you know what I mean. Anyway, that's again very impressive to pull that knowledge out in the middle of going all out.
It's rather annoying. I seem to have a knack of remembering useless information, but yeah, I can't remember anything useful when I need it.
Well, then we are two in the booth today. I can usually pull out some kind of facts and information, but it's usually rather useless, like bad jokes and lines from movies, what someone has said, and so on, but never really anything of major use. As looks like the safety car is about to head in once again, and hopefully we'll get a 58 to 57 lap green flag run to the end of the race from here. As Fredriksson leads the field onto the green flag. Looks like that was a correct start according to you, to good old USAC man. And Jacob retains the lead for now, and Lavac second on the road, with Dave Miller in third on the road, with I believe Slapinski behind them in second. With Canola in third, sitting right behind Slapinski. Here goes Canola up the inside of Dave Miller as Slapinski went past on the straight, making use of the hole that Slapinski opened. That's probably one of the biggest telltale signs of a good racer overall, that you're able to make use of opportunities that someone else creates for you. Although he doesn't seem to have the pace at this very moment to keep up with Slapinski or Lavac, as both of them are pulling away. See, Berlin, I can't even pull out the I'm old card with my bad memory, which makes me a little bit worried when I get another 30 years older from here, how my memory will actually work. But it looks like top 3 is very spread out, top 4 even, top 5 even, and 6. So no one on the lead lap in a close battle for position now. So let's have a quick gander a little bit further back. This looks like a bit more of a possible fight. You are both in 8th and Alberto Junior in 9th, trying to get around both of them. Ooh, as Boss gets very loose on the exit of 1, able to hold on to it, as both of them are trying to make their way around Filippo Marazzi. Looks like both of them were able to do so right then. The Queen with a very shallow. Ooh, Esposo again gets loose. Definitely looks like his car is set up to run behind cars and not have cars behind him, because his car looks extremely loose. As Alberto Junior slaps the wall a little bit, well, scrapes the wall, not just the wall, on the exit of 4, as he even flies past Juha Boos, and Boos shuts the door on Bruno Chacon. A little bit aggressive there, but then again, usually you only get one car past going into the corners. Very tricky to get any more. Like that battle cooled down very quickly, unfortunately. With Jason White running a lonely 10th at the moment, but I think he'll be fairly happy with that. Running in the top 10, although with a couple of scrapes with the wall along the way. I think it's a fairly decent drive in that Matchbox on wheels, or Matchbox with wings I should say, as it's been described by a couple of their drivers. And both Bruno Chacon and Dave Miller currently in the points, so despite a few issues along the way, they are scoring points. And Francois Remen also with an issue or two, not that far behind a points paying position either. So still possibilities. Filippo Marazzi a little bit further away from that opportunity, but could still happen. And Mick Chapman actually now on the same lap as Filippo Marazzi, and this could be a fight brewing quite soon. Dear me, I've completely forgotten to remove the yellow flag. I notice now. My apologies about that, but thanks for bearing with us and me in my few moments of losing track of what is going on here or there. Looks like Filippo Marazzi currently is pulling away from Mick Chapman in the battle for 14th and 15th. Looks like the Voigt-engined Coyote is closing in on Jakob Frugsen right here, only by a few tenths a lap. This could be very interesting, as we had to 3/4 distance a couple of laps ago. So 1/4 distance left, and probably 1.5 pit stops from when they last pitted. Certainly true, Ryan. Bad luck in that situation, but I hope you enjoyed the competitiveness of you and your car and setup, and I think you are definitely looking good for the rest of the championship. As Slapinski is still closing in, he's closed in about a second and 2 laps, and now he'll be getting into drafting range. Be very, very quick to be sucked up towards the rear wing of the Eagle ahead. Closing in on the business end of this race, now 45 laps to go, and still I'd say at least 5, 6, actually 7, because Lavach is in 7th, only 1 lap off, and Alberto Junior as well has proven to be very quick on occasion, so would say 8 drivers still with a good shot, strong drivers at that, and with a shot at winning this race. So it'll be interesting who is able to run the car to as long as possible so that they have a shorter stop at the end, or be able to stop at a very most perfect time, which I assume will be lap 170. Will be, I suppose the technical cutoff lap will be around 167, 168 if you're running the low wing setup that David Yates was kind enough to tell me about, the different running low or high wing setup, relatively speaking, obviously. So the low wing will probably be able to make it on fuel save from about 167. Those running higher wings will probably need to go to 170, 171 before they stop for the final time. They could possibly get 31 laps out of the tank if they fuel save like mad. As Dave Miller heads for the pits, so that'll be 2 stops. 1 more stop after this, before the end of the race. But probably a very opportune time indeed as the yellow flag comes out. Oh dearie me, that's Mick Chapman. Oh no. Another very unfortunate retirement. He was doing a very good job, staying out of trouble and keeping on going. Oh, the car got loose. And unfortunately nothing he could do. Big, somewhat hard hit with the outside barrier, but then the car speared towards the inside barrier, and a very, very hard hit indeed. And to be honest, it's very fortunate that that we are virtually racing and not racing in the cars of the day, because they were far from safe for the drivers. So unfortunately a retirement for Mick Chapman, but a very good effort up until that point. And Peter Lavac looks like he should be able to regain the lead lap, especially if he's let go here. And that would make it for sure 7 drivers with a good shot, and just behind there is Alberto Jr. as well, so 8 drivers on the lead lap with about 40 laps to go, as the green flag is likely to come out later on. Maybe, okay, actually not, because they need to wait a lap before they can pit, and therefore they will not regain that lap, unfortunately. Joao Boas might regain the lap though, as he continues around. It looks like Jason White has been in the pits already, so he will stay presumably 1 lap behind the leaders, as will Bruno Chacon and Dave Miller. Francois Remen in 13th at the moment, with Marazzi in 14th. And our unfortunate retirees with about 40 laps to go is Chapman, Yannick, Mikola, Jereb, Sabre, Forster, Matanen, Fitch, Delacella, Coxon, Mroz, Yakes, and Shure. Ooh, and I need to get the yellow one. Quickly, there we go. Just in time for the green flag to fly, I think, if I saw correctly with the safety car on the apron. It is indeed. So Ferguson retains his lead after the pit stop, so everyone will have a splash and dash that are on the lead lap at the moment. As the green flag comes out, and oh dearie me, you have Boss with a massive moment and another unfortunate hit with the barriers. I think he had a scrape with the barriers earlier. That looked like a turbo. That looked very much like the turbo kicking in at a ill-opportune time, and he just couldn't quite control the car, and that's why he span. I'm honestly not sure. It's I suppose he's the USAC man is off having a drink. But since we are under yellow, I will take a quick moment to have a bit of a change of the in-game sound settings, since there was a bit of a small request for that. So let's see which one that would be. I think it would be that one to make that change. Let's give that a try. If we just go to the front of the field, obviously they aren't going all out, and I believe Jacob may have a drive-through penalty pending there. Or is that just everyone having... Okay, it's just everyone having stay behind the driver in front. As Lapinski heads into the pits again for a quick splash. They still shouldn't be able to make it from here. As Lavash flies past, trying to get to his pit stall as quick as possible. No, we haven't had a trivia answer yet, so looks like we have another yellow flag lap here. So let's actually... Oh, sorry, I completely forgot to change to... One can tell that I've been refereeing for 2 days in a row here. But let's have a quick look at the trivia question and answer. While we still have another lap under yellow to go. So the trivia question tonight was, of course, who won the last California 500 held at Ontario on August 31st, 1980? Was it A, Bobby Unser, B, Johnny Rutherford, or C, Rick Mears? And if I remember correctly, Berlin said A. Greg has said A, I can see here. Angel May goes for C. I believe Tim went for B. And the actual answer is actually A. Bobby Unser took the win. Final California 500 win in 1980. So congratulations to Berlin and anyone else who went for A. And in the meantime, while I was doing a lot of other stuff, let's quickly get back in game where the green flag has just flown. With Ferguson retaining his lead. Actually with a 4-second lead, considering everyone else is was sat behind lapped traffic on the restart. So Hackman up into second, Canola in third, Ridol in fourth, Schlapinski in fifth, coming out of the pits actually. Ibanez also coming out of the pits in sixth. And Jason White, I believe, 1 lap down in 7th at the moment. Several drivers actually decided to pit then. I wonder if they think they can fuel save until the end from here. Ferguson is still going around, now with a 42-second lead, so that must mean that Schlapinski, of course, pitted and will try to fuel save. Hackman has pitted and will... Oh no, he won't at all! He blows the engine as he comes out of the pit apron! Oh dearie me! What rotten luck for Hackman! He was having a fantastic race. Oh wow! That is absolutely... That is so disheartening. So that means Ray Rudolph fourth, Alberto Ibanez in fifth. Jason White now in 6th position. First of those a lap down. Peter Lavach will be 7th in about half a lap. Alberto Quino coming out of the pits will be 8th. Brun Chacon will be 9th. Dave Miller will make his way up into the top 10. Francois Remen will be 11th and in a points paying position. And Filippo Marazzi in a few laps time will be up into 12th and final points paying position. And unfortunately he is our last running car. So a lot of attrition due to bad luck more than anything else, it would seem. I can't really blame it on anything like bad driving or anything for any of the incidents we've seen really, so just one of those things with 500-mile races. Mistakes will creep in. And bad luck will of course creep in because it's such a long race and you are going for such a long time. Yes, as Greg said, says that as we also could see in the short history of the California Ontario Motor Speedway in California 500 that I played last Sunday. The property was worth more than the racetrack was in the end, because neither NASCAR nor USAC and these open wheel cars could get the attendances they were hoping and expecting. So the property was sold, and I believe there is now a shopping mall and that kind of stuff on this particular site, unfortunately.
The sad fate of so many of California's tracks.
Sad fate of pretty much, but a lot of tracks, not just in California, but all over the US and in Australia, in Europe. It's just one of those things with urbanization and towns getting larger. In some of the situations, more area is needed for either housing, or someone thinks it's good for with shopping malls or restaurants and all that kind of stuff being closer to town. Well, I personally would love to have a racetrack in the middle of my local town. It would be perfect. It looks like Alberto Ibanez in 5th is closing in on Ray Riddle. Although Alberto scrapes the wall a little bit in the short shoot between 1 and 2. Not sure what that will have done to his car. Actually, Alberto heading for the pits, so he is now pitting for the certain final time. It'll actually be interesting. We'll stay on board here and see whether it'll be a quick splash and dash, or if he'll actually. Oh yes, Francois Remen has had a spin on the front straight. So Alberto perfectly timed into the pits. And it looks like it's just a quick splash and dash for him as well. Let's see if we can see. Here we have Francois. So very unfortunate, he was sitting very well placed, trying to get out of the way of the leader. And it looks like he was watching his mirrors a bit too much, hit the wall quite hard to begin with, probably damaged the suspension, and then couldn't quite control the car and ended up once again in the inside barrier. It looks like he'll keep going. He's of course in 11th at the moment, still with his chance of finishing 11th, although it looks like Filippo Marazzi will make his way past shortly. There he goes. So that means Francois Remen is in 12th. Marazzi heading for the pits, but sitting in 11th. Dave Miller currently in 10th, with Bruno Chacon coming out of the pits in 9th. Alberto Jr. in 8th. Peter Lavac in 7th. Again, it looks like barely on the lead lap, with Alberto Ibanez in 6th. Jason White in 5th. Actually, maybe not. Looks like they're all a lap down on Szapinski. Although Slapinski, I believe, is now into the pits. He is indeed. So most of the drivers that was shown a lap down will catch that place back up. So that should mean Lavic is just about on the lead lap. Alberto Ibanez will be on the lead lap, I'm fairly sure. Yep, because Slapinski is still in the pits right there. So Alberto... Actually, Fredriksson is also still out. Wow. So he is keeping a lot of drivers one lap down here. So I wonder if he can actually make it to the end of the race from here, but he will have the drivers behind him a lot closer as we come to the green flag this time by, and a lot of lapped cars ahead of him as well. And Ray Riddle just about on the lead lap, right ahead of Fredriksson here, as Alberto Ibanez is sent up the field after his pit stop by the looks of things. So up into third actually. Wow. So actually looks like it's Slapinski and Fredriksson on the actual lead lap, and then we have several drivers just off the lead lap. And Chacon gets a 10-second stop and go penalty. That looked very strange.
That'll be a safety car infraction. He was in front of me at one point, and I was behind the safety car.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. So, Thiago Canola actually now shown in the lead. That's a very strange situation, oh well. So Thiago Canola in the lead. Ray Riddle in second, Fredriksson third, Cesare Slapinski fourth, and Peter Lavac just off the lead lap in fifth. And that is Slapinski into the pits for, I'd assume, to serve a stop-go penalty. As is Alberto Ibanez, I'd assume. As he comes back out, and it was indeed to serve a stop-go. I wonder if more drivers then will have a stop-go to serve. That's very unfortunate for many drivers who were having a really good race. Cesaric will be just on the lead lap. Chacon has been in for his stop-go as well. Fredriksson sitting right behind Dave Miller down the front straight, goes up the inside now, going towards turn 1. Looks like Fredriksson as well has a possible stop-go penalty pending. As Fredriksson very nicely goes up the inside of Ray Riddle there, going into 3. And continues around for now. Actually looks like Ray Riddle is struggling a little bit with understeer as he's in traffic. It looks like in terms of Francois and Filippo had a lot of damage to repair, and therefore is further laps down. So Francois Remen is in 11th and Filippo Morazzi in 12th. 20 laps to go as Brun Chacon gets out of the way of Canola, but then comes down on the racing line. See if Ferguson can make his way past. Looks like he'll make it here. Nicely done. Worked fairly well. Neither gained or lost too much time with that. Ferguson now in the slipstream by the looks of things. It's really getting sucked up towards Canola's rear wing and gearbox. Ferguson got a lot of washout coming through too there and almost hit the outside barrier. That's brave going onto the apron. Worked that time for Jacob as he continues to try and catch up to Canola. And Canola from a lap down, actually sitting in the lead with 18-19 laps to go. So it looks like Jacob is struggling a little bit with the balance of his car at the moment. Looking both tight and loose at the same time, which can't be a nice feeling. Looks like Ferguson can get to within about half a second to a second, but from there he is really struggling to get closer to Canola. But they are both pulling away from Ray, who's in third at the moment. Let's have a look further behind, because I can only see that they are a lap behind. I can't actually see how big the gaps are, but it looks like the gaps are fairly large between all of them, as unfortunately Filippo Marazzi has been forced to retire with less than 20, for him with just over 30 laps to go. And so Serge Lapinski sets the quickest lap of the race at a 46.6, about 10th or 2 quicker than what he did before. Are getting really close to the barriers on the exit of 1. But he opened up a big gap coming out of 3 though, no, sorry, 2 though, so 14 or 15 laps to go as we cross the finish line this time around. It's either such that Jakob Fryksen is now trying to fuel save. Thiago is running a lot quicker. I can't quite tell, but it's one or the other. Or possibly Thiago saying, okay, I won't be able to make a fuel save, I need to burn some. Go for a quick splash and hope I open up the gap enough to hold on to the lead from here. Honestly, a very interesting turn of events. I honestly thought they would be hammer and tongs until the end of the race, but 13 laps to go and Thiago now has nearly a 2-second lead. This is how Ślepiński again does the quickest lap of the race, about 400s quicker than what he did previously, I think. And Hlavac with a very nice consistent drive, sitting in the top 5. I think he'll be very happy with that. And it's very good to see him back here racing and presumably having a good time of it. And Jason White currently in 6th. I think he'll be happy with that, although he is being closed in on by Alberto Ibanez, so it could turn into 7th for Jason in the next few laps. And Alberto Quino, just as we go to the third of the Velus Panelli Jones Racing Team cars, scrapes the wall between 3 and 4. Dave Miller in 9th, Bruno Chacon in 10th, François Remen, last running car at the moment, in 11th. And Fryksen has closed back up to Canola, now back to a second between them. This looks to be a real seesaw between the Brazilarian and the Swede. Looks like Fryksen really has some pace. Oh, although that's a lot of washout, has to check up and loses time once again. Noticed just now, Alberto Ibanez just got past Jason White. So Jason White back to 7th. I think he'll still be happy with that. And Alberto possibly a bit disappointed sitting in 6th. Was up at the front for most of the race, but unfortunately with some late race difficulties with the pit stops and the way the yellows landed and all of that, has dropped off the lead lap and probably not improve further than 6th unless Peter Hlavac or anyone else up ahead has a bit of a moment somewhere. Which obviously could still happen. Wes Fryksen really hangs the car out in 4. So we are 8 laps from the end of the race. both of them really getting close to the barriers between 1 and 2. And again, Ferguson looked fairly loose coming out of 4. He's definitely having to work that car to make it go quicker. And both of them really trying to make the most of these last 7 laps as it is now. Ferguson lose again on the entry to 2 this time. As Francois Remen very sportingly gets out of the way of the leaders. To allow their battle to continue unhindered. Owen Canola just scraped the wall exiting turn 4. That could come to bite him as Fredriksson has a great run. Thiago defends the inside. Nutty. And Ferguson takes the lead here. As Canola dropped a lot of speed, possibly damaged the car as well in that situation. And I wonder, as long as Fredriksson can make it to the end with 5 laps to go on fuel, I don't think Thiago will be able to catch him now. Thiago's dropped a lot of pace, so he must have damaged. My apologies. He must have damaged his car in that hit with the wall. As we have another yellow as well, unfortunately, with almost 3 laps to go. Oh dear, that's one of the Vels Panelli cars. It's Alberto Ibanez. Oh dearie me. And he drops to 8th. Oh, and another hit with a wall there. Of course, no rear wing, and looks like possibly some suspension damage as well. Oh dearie me, there he goes with a bit of a spin. Another slight hit with the wall. Hopefully he'll be able to get to the pit stall and still get the car repaired. Although we can see how difficult that car is to drive at the moment. But he is in his pit stall, his crew is repairing the car. And this could possibly give Thiago one last chance here to take the lead and possibly the win here. As I reckon we'll probably have one or 2 laps of green and before the end of the race. Looking at how the safety cars has worked so far in this race.
One to go signal there.
Thank you very much, Dave. So we have one more lap of yellow, and we'll have, I believe, 2 laps, a 2-lap dash to the end of the race and the finish. And it'll be very interesting to see how this goes for our drivers. Let's see, green flag signal to come, 2 laps to the end of the race. Green flag is out, the restart is on, and let's see what happens here. As Fredriksson looks to hold on to the lead for now, Canola trying his best to keep up, and Ray Riddle trying to take second away from Canola. Looks like Fredriksson has opened up a big gap already. That yellow should mean that they can run to the end, no matter when they pitted. White flag is out. Final lap of the race. It looks like Fredriksson, unless he makes a mistake here, will take the win. And I think he'll be very happy with that. He showed he had some decent speed in the qualification heats, but this kind of speed he didn't quite show then. It certainly looks like he has it today. And Slapinski has taken third away from Ray Riddle in the dying moments as well. On the back straight, he took third away from Ray Riddle. So Fredriksson comes around the final corner, up towards the finish line, and takes the win. And the California 500. It says Thiago took the win, but I don't think that's correct. Thiago Canola second, we'll say for now, and we'll see what the final results will be. Because it looks like it's a little bit mixed up here. Slapinski third with Ray Riddle fourth, Lavach fifth, Jason White in sixth, Dave Miller in seventh, Alberto Aquino eighth, Bruno Chacon finishes ninth with Alberto Aquino finishes eighth, Bruno Chacon ninth, Alberto Ibanez 10th, François Remen finishes 11th, and I believe Filippo Marazzi, despite retired, will be classified 12th and will probably score those I believe it's 50 points for that 12th position. And of course our unfortunate retirees were Adam Hackman, Juha Bors, Mick Chapman, Brian Yannick, Pascal Mikula, Raul Jereb, David Sabe, Alan Forster, Jukka Martinen, Jason Fitch, Greg Delacella, Richard Coxon, Ernestum Ross, David Yates, and Dana Schurer. Fredriksson clearly stating that he feels he took the win, at least with a few donuts in the victory area of the track. Very nice to see him. François Remen very happy as well, it looks like, so good stuff that. Let's do that, and let's see. I heard we have someone joining us. Let's see who that may be. Alberto Ibanez.
Hey, hello, good evening. Well, not so good after all for me, but anyway.
Well, I suppose that depends on how you look at it. I can understand that, considering you were in the top 5 for probably 75-80% of the race, a 10th position isn't so good. But I'd assume you're happy with the pace you had.
Yeah, I'm happy with the pace, and I'm happy to finally have saved the day. But Jesus, everything was looking really great, and then at some point, I got a penalty for I don't yet know what the reason was. It said that I had passed Dave Miller or something like that. Maybe he was in the pits. I don't know. But the thing is, I got a stop and go, and then the nightmare began because I could not serve it on the yellow. I pit on the green, and the first time I pit on the green because I was on the queue and waited until the green flag dropped, it wouldn't let me serve it either. So I don't know, maybe the game just wants you to cross the line on the green and then serve it. Whatever the case, I got I got my lap back. I went back to the queue. I was in 6th position or 7th or something like that, and then I got another stop and go penalty, and I still don't know why. So back I went to serve it on the green, and then started to go as quick as I could. Some point was in 6th position, but well, I got distracted watching the hood because I saw the 4th car was coming behind me, and I wanted to know who it was because I was a bit confused about the car that was behind me, so as to let it pass. And then it happened that I lost it, and well, that was completely a driving error. I got distracted and it was my fault, and well, it was really appalling. At least I could limp to the pits, put another rear wing, and then drive slowly so as to make at least the finish. I think some points I will have collected, and well, I hope that anyone who is running for the championship didn't score much today. We'll see.
Well, I'm sorry to see that you went out, Albert. Sorry, guys, to jump in, but on one hand, I'm sorry to see you go out, but it did give me one more place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
finished.
sorry to steal it from you,
just for those of you who are watching, and you probably surmised it from watching the results. I didn't see who finished first on the road, but there are a few things that we're going to have to fix in post. To quote Elon Musk, I myself completed 199 laps and finished 6th on the road, but it docked me one. The game docked me one lap because of some stupid. Suddenly coming to the green, you're ahead of the car you should be following. You're ahead of the car you should be following. So angry girlfriend penalties, you know. So we'll take that up with USAC, man. Maybe he needs to be put out to pasture. In any case, what an exciting, fantastic race. Alberto, don't touch these physics. These are great. It was so fun. At least that's my opinion. It was challenging and it's fun.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's very challenging. So, but yeah, I think it's a bit. I don't know. We'll have a look at it. We still have to go Trenton now and then Michigan.
That's true.
And we'll see where we are then before Indy.
But all in all, I mean, even though I know you had an incident at the end, it was a pretty good day for the Vel Militich Parnelli Jones team. We did okay.
I think that we all got points.
Yeah, we all got points. So there you go.
Yeah, very good day for your team there, and.
Smoke the Viceroys if you got them.
I don't think we have them or ever had them in Sweden.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, good to hear that both of you enjoyed yourselves despite the late race antics of USAC man and the like. And I notice we're also joined by Cesarius. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. Congratulations on your 3rd place position, but I'd assume you were hoping for possibly 2 places higher than that.
Yeah, it was a bit scary race actually. I'm glad that I finished because there was a couple of crashes in front of me and I just survived that, and that was, I just stayed on the lead lap as Alberto said, and then it worked somehow.
It was certainly a race of attrition, that's for sure, and as you say, staying on the lead lap was paramount. And I must say you had a very, very good pace, but I'd assume because you say it was a bit scary. Was the car very nervous for you, or how did the car work out in this particular race?
The car was fantastic. I can say that, you know, it's a blistering rocket, but the problem is that I had to serve some stop and go penalty. Don't know why, but you know, it took me couples of places back, and thankfully I just, you know, put the right amount of fuel into the car, and I needed to pit at the end of the race. But my first goal was to stick with Dana Schurer and keep with her. Unfortunately, she was out, so I tried to stick with Alberto and with Jacob.
You did a good race, and I hope that you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think my weight is like 2 kilograms less now.
Yeah, that's understandable. It must have been a very tiring race for all of you to manhandle these machines around this fantastic racetrack as it is or was.
I think in the real race we could just faint it behind the wheel, you know, because it's so exhausting without all these G-forces. And just imagine what happens when you're driving it in the real life.
No, it's
crazy.
incredible. I mean,
The guys that drove
these cars.
the guys who drove these cars were incredible. Just in terms of the physical strength to drive them and the bravery. Yeah, I mean, anybody who scoffs at the notion of simply turning left and saying, "Oh, that's easy," I invite them to give this a shot and then tell me it's easy.
Well, I have to run now, but I'm looking forward to Trenton because that's going to be a great track. And you know, we've developed one that is accurate to how it was in real life, not the one we had used in past years. So it's going to be amazing. Till then, hopefully.
It's certain to be a great race, no matter which track we use, I reckon. So
from your channel.
Good stuff, and thank you, Alberto. I think, thank you very much for joining us, guys, and for having a post-race chat with us.
Thanks for the broadcast.
Thank you very much yourself, and thank you to our viewers for sticking with us despite the slight issues very early on in the race with I'm honestly not sure what went on there, but looks like it held up from lap 20 or something onwards, so good stuff, and hopefully that will never happen again. Let's have a quick look at what's coming up here at ISO. We have on Wednesday the 7th and 8th rounds of the Australian Super Touring Car Championship from Amaru Park, the now defunct sort of, I suppose one could call it a roller coaster ride. Very neat little track. Cars are available if you want a nice little entry level into ISO racing. The first round of our 2020 Lucas Vidra Trophy will take place on Sunday, March the 1st, which is next Sunday, which will be the 1984 200-Meilen von Nürnberg, using the GTPC mod, of course spec'd up with some updated physics, courtesy of Richard Wilkes and Alberto Ibanez. And in 2 weeks' time, we will see round 4 of the 1991 Formula 1 Championship, Grand Prix de Monaco, which all of those will be great races. I believe all cars are taken for the Lucas Vidra Trophy race, but there are 1 or 2, I believe, available for the Formula 1 Championship if you feel yourself drawn towards that. But yeah, any final thoughts before we cap off the broadcast, Dave, Cesarius, Jason?
Only that the points that you earn in a 500-mile race are earned well because this is the ultimate test. I lost count of how many times I avoided disaster in this race. I've never had a race before where I came so close to DNFing and did not. Lady Luck was riding in my cigarette box with wings this evening. So I feel very... I wish that I could have challenged Peter at the end for 5th, but my car was too used up. I simply didn't have anything left. But I'm very happy with where I finished. And thank you to ISO for putting this on. And thanks to Alberto for such a fantastic racing experience.
Yep, thank you very much to all of you, and I hope we all enjoy a Trenton again.
It's the one where you can turn right.
Dave, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the aching in my shoulders tells me just how tough of a race that was, especially after the incident, dragging what was left of the McLaren round. But I certainly enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one.
Sounds good. So thank you very much to all our participants. Congratulations to unofficially. Unofficially,
Maybe.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's far easier to say. Podium finishers in Jakob Ferguson, Thiago Canola, and Cesariusz Ślapinski. And all finishers, to be fair, because this was one grueling race with, as Jason said, many scary moments, and that's sure to be the same for everyone who partook in this event.
I can't wait to watch the broadcast. Should be hair raising.
Especially after lap 20 when I had no further issues, but yeah. Thank you very much for sticking with us through the technical difficulties I experienced, and I hope you'll be tuning in next. I believe we'll have a broadcast at least for next weekend's Lukas Vidra Trophy event. If not, I will take care of that, I reckon. But
I'm
anyway,
out of town, so it won't be me.
Okay, then it'll be me sitting here once again next Sunday for the 200-mile von Nürnberg. But until then, thank you very much and have a great week, and see you next weekend. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
User left your channel.